The worst part about sitting at that Thanksgiving table wasn't the silence. It was the sound of my mother's fork scraping against her plate. Deliberate, rhythmic, like she was counting down to something. 11:32 a.m., 23 people around us, and I was about to do the one thing I swore I'd never do. I was about to forgive them. Let me back up to 3 years earlier. I grew up in what looked like the perfect family. Big house in the suburbs, family portraits in matching cream sweaters. My parents, Dr. Angela Hayes and Robert Hayes, successful cardiologist and real estate developer, hosted dinner parties where everyone laughed at the right moments. But inside that house, I was drowning. My sister Bethany was the golden child. Straight A's, captain of the debate team, early acceptance to Yale. I was the problem. That's what my mother called me when her friends weren't around. Our little problem. I remember being 14, showing my parents a short story I'd written. It had won second place in a state competition. My father glanced at it for maybe 5 seconds. "Second place," he said, handing it back. "Bethany won first place in her category. Twice." My mother didn't even look up from her phone. That same year, 3 specific things happened that I can never forget. 1. My mother told her book club I was going through a phase when I was actually being treated for depression. 2. My father forgot my birthday, but threw Bethany a surprise party for getting a B+ on a test. 3. They both missed my school play, where I had the lead, because Bethany had a college interview. I learned to make myself smaller, quieter, invisible. The breaking point came during my senior year of college. I was sitting in a coffee shop with my roommate, Brooke, when my phone rang. My mother. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken in 2 months, not since I'd told them I was majoring in creative writing instead of pre-med. "Your grandmother died," she said. No greeting. "The funeral is Saturday. We expect you there. And wear something appropriate, not like that ridiculous outfit you wore to Easter." I'd worn a sundress to Easter, a normal sundress. "I'm sorry about Grandma," I managed. I loved her. "Then you'll be there. Bethany's flying in from her residency program. Don't embarrass us." She hung up. Brooke was staring at me. "Please tell me you're not going." But I went, because some part of me, that 14-year-old part, still hoped that maybe this time would be different. Maybe grief would crack them open. Maybe they'd finally see me. The funeral was on a Saturday. Cold morning, frost on the grass. I drove 4 hours to get there. I walked into the church 15 minutes early and found out the funeral had been the day before. My mother had given me the wrong date, on purpose. I stood there in the empty parking lot, my hands shaking so hard I dropped my keys, twice. The groundskeeper was closing up. He looked at me with pity that made my stomach hurt. "Were you here for the Hayes service? That was yesterday, miss. Big turnout." I got back in my car and sat there for 37 minutes. I counted, because counting kept me from screaming. Then I drove to my parents' house. They were having a post-funeral brunch. I could hear laughter through the front door. I walked in without knocking. The dining room went quiet. 17 family members, all staring. My mother stood up, her face already arranging itself into that expression. The one that said, "You're making a scene." Why wasn't I at Grandma's funeral? My voice came out steadier than I expected. "You were invited," my father said, not even looking at me. "You chose not to come." "You told me it was today." "I told you Saturday. Yesterday was Saturday." My mother's voice was ice. "If you'd bothered to confirm, but you never think ahead, do you? Always scattered, always disappointing." I pulled out my phone, showed her our text exchange, the date she'd sent, today's date. She barely glanced at it. "Well, you must have misread. Everyone else managed to be here. That's when Bethany spoke up from across the table. Mom literally told me you probably wouldn't come anyway. She said you'd find some excuse to make it about you. The room was tilting. Or maybe I was. I drove 4 hours, I whispered. And now you're ruining our family brunch, my mother said. As usual. If you can't be civil, you should leave. I looked around that table, at aunts and uncles and cousins who'd watched me grow up. Not one person spoke. They just looked away, studying their plates, their coffee cups, anywhere but my face. My father sighed, that long-suffering sigh I knew so well. This is why we don't include you in things. You create drama where there is none. Something snapped inside me. Not the loud, violent snap of breaking. The quiet one, like a thread finally giving up. I left, drove straight back to campus. Didn't stop even when my mother called 6 times to tell me I was hysterical and unstable. That night, at 2:47 a.m., I wrote it all down. Every incident I could remember. Not the big things, the small ones. The ones that seemed too petty to matter. The time my mother introduced me at a party as our other daughter. The time my father told me I was too sensitive after his brother made a sexual comment about my body. The time they canceled my therapy appointments without telling me because therapy is for people with real problems. The list was 9 pages long. I sent it to my university counselor the next morning. Her name was Dr. Kim, and she'd been gently suggesting for months that my family might be more than just difficult. She called me that afternoon. "This is abuse," she said quietly, looking at my list. "Emotional and psychological abuse. You know that, right?" I started crying. Because no, I didn't know that. I thought I was just the problem. Dr. Kim helped me understand the patterns. She had specific terms for everything. Gaslighting, making me doubt my own memory and perception. Scapegoating, blaming me for family dysfunction. Golden child dynamic, elevating Bethany while degrading me. Triangulation, using other family members to invalidate my experiences. She suggested I take space. Real space. Not the kind where I still answered their calls or showed up for holidays hoping things would change. So I did something I'd never done before. I blocked their numbers. All of them. For 6 months, I heard nothing. It was the quietest, most peaceful 6 months of my life. I slept through the night. My panic attacks decreased from daily to weekly to barely at all. I started writing again. Actually writing, not just journaling my pain. Brooke said I looked different. Like you're not waiting for something bad to happen, she explained. Then, 2 weeks before graduation, a letter arrived. It was from my Aunt Penelope, my mother's sister. She'd been at that brunch. She'd said nothing. The letter was 3 pages, handwritten. It started, "I need to tell you something I should have said 20 years ago." She'd watched my mother treat me this way my entire life. She'd watched because my mother had done the same thing to her growing up. The pattern went back generations. There was always a golden child, always a scapegoat. "Your grandmother, the one who just died, did it to us," she wrote. "She adored your mother and treated me like I was invisible. I thought breaking contact was the only option, but I've spent 30 years regretting that I didn't try to have a relationship with your mother on my own terms. that I let her dysfunction steal even the possibility of connection. The letter ended with a question. What if forgiveness isn't about saying what they did was okay? What if it's about freeing yourself from the weight of hating them? I sat with that letter for weeks. Dr. Kim helped me understand something crucial. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. You can forgive someone and never speak to them again. Forgiveness is for you, not them. But there was something else, something I hadn't admitted even to myself. I missed them. Not the people they actually were, the people I wished they could be. I missed the fantasy of having parents who were safe, who were proud of me, who said, "I love you," without conditions attached. And I realized I was still giving them power. By hating them, by organizing my life around avoiding them, I was still making them the center of my universe. So I made a decision. I would forgive them. Not because they deserved it, not because they'd changed or apologized or even acknowledged what they'd done. I would forgive them to set myself free. But forgiveness didn't mean going back. It meant something different. I wrote each of them a letter. My mother, my father, Bethany. I didn't send them. This was for me. In each letter, I wrote, "I forgive you for not being who I needed you to be. I forgive you for the pain you caused. And I release myself from the need for you to understand, apologize, or change." Then I burned them. I watched the paper curl and blacken in a metal bowl in my apartment parking lot at sunset. Brooke stood next to me. "How do you feel?" "Lighter," I said. And I meant it. But here's the thing about toxic families. They don't just let you go. 3 months after graduation, my mother showed up at my new apartment. I don't know how she got my address. I'd been careful not to share it. She stood in my doorway, and for a moment, I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Uncertainty. "Can I come in?" Every instinct screamed no. But I'd done the work. I'd built boundaries. I could do this. "We can talk out here," I said, stepping into the hallway and closing my door behind me. She flinched. Actually flinched. "I came to..." She stopped. Started again. "Your aunt told me about her letter." I wanted to explain. "There's nothing to explain," I said. Not angry, just factual. "I know why everything happened the way it did. I understand the patterns. I've forgiven you for it." "You've forgiven me?" She said it like the words were in a foreign language. "Yes, but forgiveness doesn't mean I'm coming back. It means I'm not carrying the anger anymore. I'm not waiting for an apology I'll never get. I'm just done." "So that's it?" Her voice went sharp. There was the mother I knew. "You're going to throw away your entire family? Be completely alone?" "I'm not alone," I said quietly. "I have people who love me, who sees me, who doesn't require me to be someone else to earn basic respect. We're your family. You're people who share my DNA. That's biology, not family. Family is built on love and safety and mutual respect. You never offered me that." I watched her face cycle through emotions, anger, confusion, something that might have been grief. "You were always so sensitive," she said finally. "Everything was always so hard for you." And there it was, the thing that would never change. "Goodbye, Angela," I said, using her first name, claiming that small power. I went back inside and locked the door. She stood there for 2 more minutes. I could see her shadow under the door. Then she left. That was 2 years ago. Now, at 11:32 a.m. on Thanksgiving, I'm sitting at a table with 23 people, but none of them are my blood relatives. This is the family I chose. Brooke is here, and her girlfriend, Dr. Kim and her wife, 3 friends from my writing group, my partner, whose hand is warm in mine under the table. We're at a long table in a community center, part of a Friendsgiving, for people who don't have traditional families or don't go home for holidays. Someone drops their fork, and I flinch, just for a second. Old habit. My partner squeezes my hand. "You okay?" "Yeah," I say. and I mean it. Here's what forgiveness actually looked like for me. I didn't forgive them because they changed. They haven't. My mother still sends cards on holidays addressed to occupant because she won't use my name. My father hasn't contacted me at all. Bethany sent one text, "You're being dramatic." I forgave them because I refused to let their dysfunction write the rest of my story. I forgave them so I could stop waiting for them to become different people. I forgave them so I could build something real with the people who actually showed up for me. And here's the truth they don't tell you about forgiveness. It's not a one-time thing. Some days I wake up angry all over again. Some days I grieve the parents I deserved but never had. Some days I'm 14 again, holding that second-place story, waiting for someone to be proud. But most days I'm here, at this table, with these people. "Speech!" someone calls out, and everyone's looking at me because, apparently, I'm giving a toast. I stand up, my glass of sparkling cider catching the light. "I want to say thank you," I start, "for showing me what family actually means. Not an obligation, not blood, but choice. Showing up, seeing each other." My voice cracks a little. I spent 22 years believing I was the problem, that I was too much and not enough all at once. You all taught me that I was never the problem. The system was broken, not me. Someone's crying. Might be me. So here's to the chosen family, to the people who choose us back, to forgiveness that frees us instead of trapping us, and to build something new instead of fixing something that was broken from the start. Hear, hear! The room erupts in agreement, glasses clinking. I sit down and Brooke leans over. "Your mom doesn't know what she's missing." "Yeah," I say, looking around this table. "She really doesn't." Later that night, I'm writing in my apartment. It's what I do now. I write stories about complicated families, about survival, about finding yourself after being lost for so long. My phone buzzes. A voicemail from a number I don't recognize. I almost deleted it, but something makes me listen. It's Aunt Penelope. "Hi, sweetie. I just wanted you to know. Your mother called me today. She was upset about Thanksgiving, about you not being there." A pause. She said something I've never heard her say before. She said, "Maybe I don't know how to love her. Not that you're the problem, that she doesn't know how." Another pause. Longer. "I don't know if she'll ever say that to you. Probably not. But I thought you should know that somewhere in there might be the tiniest seed of awareness. Not enough to fix anything, but maybe enough that someday, in her own way, she'll understand what she lost." The voicemail ends. I sit with it. That small piece of information. That tiny crack in the narrative I'd built. And here's what I realize. It doesn't change anything. She could have an entire awakening, and it still wouldn't obligate me to go back. Forgiveness isn't a door I have to walk back through. It's a door I walked out of. I write this down because this is the part nobody tells you. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself from them. You can hope they heal and never want to see them again. You can release the anger without releasing the boundaries. You can wish them well from a great distance. That's what real forgiveness looks like. Not reconciliation. Not pretending it never happened. Not letting them back in because they showed one moment of vulnerability. Just putting it down. The weight of it. the hope that they'll change, the fantasy of the family you deserved. Putting it all down and walking away. I look at my reflection in the dark window. I am 24 years old, building a life that's entirely mine. No longer the problem, no longer invisible, just free. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's a text from Brooke. Game night next week? Bring your partner. We're doing charades and homemade pizza. I text back immediately. We'll be there. This is what happens when you forgive a toxic family. Not a fairy tale where they apologize and everyone heals, but something quieter, truer. You stop waiting for them to give you permission to be whole. You stop trying to earn love from people who don't have it to give. You build something new, something yours. And some morning, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you wake up and realize you've gone an entire week without thinking about them, without organizing your life around their absence or their dysfunction. You wake up and you're just living. That's what happened when I forgave my toxic family. I got myself back. And that's more than they ever gave me to begin with. If you're sitting at a table right now wishing your family was different, know this. You are not the problem. You never were. And forgiveness, real forgiveness, is something you do for yourself, not for them. You get to decide what it looks like. You get to decide who stays and who goes. You get to build something new. Your chosen family is waiting.